of our podcast, Len and Onda.
Hello. Pardon.
We have a special guest today because we have our friend Kar-Mun coming on the show.
Hello.
We're really excited. And she brought her dog Millie. So if you hear a little barking or loud
breathing, heavy
that's
breathing.
not Ali, that's not me.
That is the dog, blame the dog.
So today we'll be talking about the Australian culture in general. What makes Australia so special and, all their different cultural aspects. So Kar-Mun, do you want to introduce yourself first maybe?
So I'm Kar-Mun. I'm a pastry chef. I was born in Malaysia, but my family immigrated to Australia when I was 3 years old. So I've been living here pretty much all my life. Showing my age, I've been in Australia for 33 years now. It's kind of the only home I really know.
You're still very young. 30.
All right, thank you. I'll take that.
I was actually wondering yesterday how old you were. So I'm glad you answered my question. Yeah,
36.
Looking over wondering, and we didn't want to ask because people don't necessarily want to get asked their age. So.
I don't care.
30. Wait, how?
36.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I've been in Australia for 33
10 years younger.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Good genes.
Good genes. Asian genes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You are
A fun fact, we are 7 October, so it's a birthday.
It's the King's birthday today.
Birthday.
So we are recording on
I think it's the first time we did the
since
King's
his,
birthday. Yes, and yeah.
Well, when did the Queen die? Last year? Something like that? Yeah.
2022.
Was it
The
22?
Queen?
Yeah, the Queen.
Oh really?
Yeah, because my brother was here in 2000. He left 1 month. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have the good memories for the day.
Okay.
It's 2022
Yeah.
in September or October.
So how come it's the first time we?
Is it the first time or maybe it was the last?
Yeah,
Oh.
maybe we did last year.
It
Yeah.
would have been last year. Would have celebrated.
I don't
I don't know. But they changed it too because it depends on the state. Because
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, because New South Wales is doing Labor Day or something too.
Okay.
Yeah, already
Yeah.
for the Queen is different here with the NSW
Okay.
or the
Yeah.
Queensland. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, anyway, today is the King's birthday. So
Happy birthday,
What's his name?
Charles. No.
King Charles.
Charles?
King
Yeah,
Charles.
yeah.
Yeah. There's
We did a good research before the podcast.
very prepared. Very cultured. Which now actually we're going to be talking about the Australian culture. So there's heaps that we want to cover today, and we mostly have like little questions,
Note,
I guess. Yeah, little notes that we'd like to have Kar-Mun's opinions on. Because you are, to us, very Aussie.
I'm extremely Aussie. I'm the most bogan Asian you'll ever meet in your life.
That
So
makes you so special and really standing out.
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment.
Oh, it's a compliment.
Oh God. Okay. Here we go.
So yeah, well, for example, did you remember first of all when you first, like, do you have any memory? I know you were really young, but when you first came, do you have any memories of like your first experience with Australia?
Yeah, I actually surprisingly do because I remember it was a really weird experience in general because I remember like a whole family packing up and going on a plane and like all our relatives saying goodbye to us.
All families, how many?
Well, I have like just on my mom.
Sibling?
Yeah, so like just on my mom's side of the family, she's got like 7 brothers and sisters, and they
Wow.
each have 3 kids, right?
Oh,
2 to
wow.
3 kids. So it was like a massive family
Okay,
back
yeah,
there,
yeah,
right? But it was just my mom, my sister, and me, because my dad had already come over here, and then like so we were on the plane, and I just had this distinct memory that we're going on a holiday.
Oh yeah.
And then so when we came here, and I'm just like, this is great, it's a good country. We're seeing the beach for the first time, blah, blah. And then it was just like, we're staying here? Okay, And yeah, it was, I do remember being a bit of a culture shock because, all white people.
Yeah.
And but Malaysia is quite multicultural, but, you had like the mix of the Indians, Malays, and Chinese. So again, I was used to a mix of Asians, not a mix of, not
Yeah,
white Australians, and that was during the early 90s, so there wasn't as much of a migration here sort of thing. That was just before the boom, because the early 90s was when Australia had this boom of immigrants, because they were, as most expats now know, they were giving away citizenship.
Okay.
Right, they were like, come join Australia. We need the skilled workers, etc. Blah blah. And so I got really lucky, when my whole family got super lucky that at that time, they were pretty much giving citizenship away. Which
nice.
now I see my friends that are from overseas now, to have to fight tooth and claw to get that now, so it's very different.
It's a privilege now if you can get
it's a privilege to even get PR now, so there was like levels of that. So that was very different. The culture, the food was very different. Because my biggest memory of Malaysia was the food. And it's so different. It's very white. Very still, like, even back then it's very English white, so it's like boiled. Everything's boiled or deep fried or something like that, and like gravy, mashed potatoes and stuff like that. But that was actually still a novelty for me, because like, I was used to very rich food, like rich curries and soups and stuff like that back in Malaysia, because Malaysia's cuisine is so different from here. And so for me, and like my mom was very Asian, so she was just like, no, we never had pizza or Pizza Hut or something like that. And or like she didn't like Italian food or any sort of other food. She was like, the only other food we were allowed to eat was Japanese food. Right?
That's so fancy food.
And then so it was just like, it was still quite a novelty to like, and it was strange. It was like, in terms of the food aspect, it was very different. But in general, going to school here as well, because I did pretty much all my schooling here.
Okay.
Yeah, I did like maybe a month or two of preschool back in Malaysia, but the rest of my schooling was here. And back then, so again, early 90s, I was maybe one of 5 Asian or like other different cultural kids, compared to now where it's like 75% either or Asian or a mix of stuff. But back then it was like I was one of 5 in a class of 25, 30 sort of thing. So now seeing it now, having this perspective of time, it's definitely shifted. Even now we go down the street, you see these Asian grocery stores and stuff like that. I never had that back then when I was growing up. I had to really integrate myself to the Western culture, to the Australian culture.
Did you arrive in Brisbane?
No, so we arrived in Sydney.
Oh, so even in Sydney you're feeling there's not enough...
Okay, funny story. My mom did not want us to settle in Sydney because there was too many Asian people there.
Okay.
Because she was like, no. We like, I don't like it here. Or something like, because don't know if this is allowed in a podcast, but like Asian people can be very racist to their own kind. Particularly my mother. Oh yeah, she was just like, no, too many Vietnamese people here. They're all in gangs. Mom, what the hell, And then or like too many Chinese or too many Hong Kongs, blah blah. I'm like, Mom, last time I checked, we're yellow too.
So it's the same in Europe to be.
So we moved around a bit. We went to like Sydney, settled for we was kind of traveling around just to see where we were at, and then Melbourne and whatnot. And then eventually, of all places, she decides to settle on the Gold Coast because there weren't many Asians there. Boom!
To feel special.
5 years later, it was like an Asian, takeover in Gold Coast. So yeah, we grew up on the Gold Coast, which again, huge shock because how much more Aussie can you get on the Gold Coast with the surface and
it's true.
And like that beach culture thing. So it was so different for me because like I was born in Kuala Lumpur. So very city area, urban area, and we were like in public housing areas as well. So it was very compact. Dirty, gritty. We had the night markets, the wet markets and stuff where like rats and everything and stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, talking about early 90s, totally different now, I'm sure. But, from that to cleaner streets, very open space, beaches. And then, back then it was not at all as developed as it was now. So, yeah, that was a real shock for me. And that was my biggest memory first coming to Australia.
Did you struggle at all with the language at first?
Yes, extremely so. Well, the language, because at that time too, you got to understand it's so different now to back then as well. And because with the different cultures, and we were working class, so my mom and dad was working 2 jobs to make sure, we saved enough money and stuff like that. And it was just my sister and I. And so she didn't have time to really teach us or show us anything. So, she's just like, study hard, we have to make sure we have a better future for ourselves. And there was like ESL programs. I don't know if they have that in other countries. So it was like English as a second language sort of thing. So I would go to normal school,
yeah.
but like within the school you have classes where for immigrant kids to
For help to
to
English
improve the
level.
English,
Okay.
which my sister and I did both, but because I was younger, I think, and I never actually had a proper schooling back in Malaysia, I managed to pick up the language fairly well.
Okay.
And I read a lot. You know, they would make us read a lot, and I actually took it on well because I'm not really liking the English culture or like particularly British culture, and so hence my accent's a bit funny because I had my ESL teacher was British, but then my next door neighbor who would look after us a lot, and also like some of my other teachers were American, so my accent
It's a
jumps
complete
everywhere.
mix.
It jumps everywhere.
That's so
when
good.
I'm either angry or drunk, that's when I sound very Bogan. But then like when I'm working or professional, I sound very British. And then other times I just roll my R's and I sound American. And I just don't know. I don't know how it comes. But like
It's funny.
But
It's funny for me maybe.
yeah.
Because,
For me, it's just like so people ask us like, oh, so where are you from? And I'm like, oh, like I'm from here. But but I picked up the language fairly well because I read a lot, right? And I loved Agatha Christie, so very British, and I loved watching the ABC, BBC, or like the TV stuff. So I watch a lot of British programs, and so I kind of dived right into it. But it meant I lost completely my original language, so I couldn't speak a word of Cantonese or Mandarin, and so at home, completely zero communication. Like, because my parents were working a lot, and the only other person I talked to was my sister, which mom would be like, she was freaking out. She was so worried we wouldn't be able to pick up the language well. So she just kept making us speak English and stuff like that. But then as I got older, by the time I was 8 or 9, mom's like, oh, I can't speak a word to you. And all of a sudden I'm in trouble because I can't speak a word of Cantonese. Nowadays, even like 10 years ago, now you have a lot of these after school programs or where they teach Chinese, they teach Cantonese or Korean or whatever stuff, because we have a much more immigrant people now, right?
So more teacher
and so like now like, the generations after me, they have both languages, which I'm so grateful for. But like I completely lost mine. I had to relearn Cantonese at the age of 16, 17, just so that I can talk to my family, sometimes back home sort of thing. So
it's beautiful.
it's I think it was a generation thing, but it was like a cultural and probably a class thing too, because
I think your parents, your mom, she was very focused that you had to integrate properly.
She was so worried, so it makes sense. Like my sister had some education, so she can speak Cantonese and Mandarin fluently, and also she was much more diligent. She actually did wanted to try and make sure she remembered. I was like, screw this, English is hard enough for me. But like the language was hard, and for me to say certain words was very tricky to get that enunciation properly. I still have this vivid memory in class in primary school because they'll make you read in front of the class, right? And I couldn't say a sheet of paper properly.
This is my
So I ended up saying, so like the whole class would laugh at why I was saying anything, and I didn't realize I was saying a shit of paper.
Yeah, exactly my problem.
And so it was like I still have this vivid memory of it, of me doing that, and so it's just like, you can't help but feel like that kind of bit of shame in the back of your head. And it forces you to try and enunciate better and stuff like that. But as you get older, you just realize, oh, screw it. And like even you got your native speakers here that still sound like English is their second language, sort of thing. So at the end of the day, I think people depend more on body language as well as spoken language. But learning English, regardless of what age you're kind of picking up, it's tricky.
Did you ever struggle with like the slang, like the Australian slang? Did you have any funny, like?
I did. Like, it was funny because I do remember in some of the classes and stuff, we got taught Australian slang, but it was like it was like the social studies. They would teach us slangs, and I remember thinking, oh, this is funny, like a one-hand bandit. You know what a one-armed bandit is or something like that? No. It's a pokey machine because it steals your money. It's a one-armed bandit, something like that. I mean, again, showing my age, because like these days it's all electrical. You just press a button. You don't have like a handle anymore. But I'm like, we got taught that when I was in year 6. Why does a 10-year-old exactly right? Like, why does a 10-year-old need to know this? You know. But then as we got older, like I thought I was pretty bogan.
Yeah.
But then as I got older and was working in hospitality, I worked with some proper country people, right? So one guy, he was as country as it gets, proper Townsville boy. He was a good lad. He taught me ones I never knew, and I'm like, man, I've been here for how many years, and I didn't think there was any Australian slang I didn't know, but he taught me some. And these are like rude ones, because you got to remember chefs. We're classy buggers. Yeah. We're some classy buggers. We are.
Millie's just shaking her.
Millie's sweetheart. Yeah, she's a sook. So he taught me some, and I was just like, how does this make sense? You know. So there's one where it's like, we ain't here to fuck spiders.
Oh,
you know that one. Yeah. And then you try to teach, and it's funny because like when you do go traveling, you meet some people and they'll be like, "Oh, you're Australian," teach us some slang. You know, that's the first one I teach them because they tend to know that one.
I think every time when you learn the new language, the people want to learn the bad
words. Yeah. So we ain't here to fuck spiders. That one like I knew, but he taught me once. It's like, so in context, it's just going like, "Oh, would you like some chocolate?" And then he's just like, "Is a frog's bum watertight?" And I'm like, is a what? Is a what? It's like, yeah. And it's like, is a frog's bum watertight? It means like, hell yeah, I want some chocolate. I'm going, okay. Like, I'm just going, yeah, of course. Yeah. Silly question.
Next time just say yes.
Yeah. But here, but.
It's a yes of a question.
It's a yes of a question, yeah. But it's like, no, you just had to
extend it longer.
Yeah.
So it's like the one with the lizard.
Yeah,
drinking. Ali would love flat out like a lizard drinking. No, flat out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What I don't know. Is that
flat out like a
lizard drink?
Yeah.
I don't think I know that one, but I don't know. But like just to Australia, like they just come up with these absolute bangers. But like I love them. But at the same time,
and once you are being explained the
it makes sense.
It actually makes sense.
It makes sense. I'm like, of course.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, and why would you say it that way? Like, only Australians would put it that way.
Is there something as well with the duck and when it's raining a day or something like that? I know there's something with duck, wet duck. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I will check. Okay, no, I will check. I'm sure there is something about the duck.
So when it's raining?
Yeah, when it's raining, but like the very hard raining. I think there is something with or maybe it's American.
You'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
maybe it's not Aussie.
Yeah. It could be British.
I have to check
now. Oh God, no.
I'm sure I learned something of it.
Is there any part of the Australian culture that you had some difficulty with? Like that you don't necessarily, not approve, but like associate with, or like you just like, oh no, like there's definitely there's a gap,
A gap. I don't know if you want to go to this topic or not. It's a little bit thing, but it's probably the casual racism here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that's something that I've experienced my whole life. Millie, come on. Millie, come here. You don't need to balk. That's a good girl. So Australia's been one of those, like, I love this country. I see it as home. But I know that the moment people see me and my skin color and who I am, that's the last thing that they will think I am. That I'm not Australian, sort of thing. Like, that's not what they picture, sort of thing. That's fine. That's definitely changed in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
But there is still an underlying sense of racism. But what's even more particular is the casual racism in Australia, where it's almost accepted because, it's casual. Kind of makes it worse, guys, but and maybe this actually applies to America or some like in UK as well, but I haven't lived there, so I can't say. But for Australia, it's because we're very laxed, we're very chilled, and I love that. And I love that that's how. Oh, hang on, I'm kind of detouring a little bit, but sorry, excuse me, but
it's my specialty, no worries.
Yeah, you can edit that first part out. I was just like, so I've got strong work ethics that was driven to me in by my parents, and could probably be because of my culture as well. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but it's just because, you know, I grew up working class. Whether or not being Asian has anything to do with that, no idea. But like, I work very hard.
You do work really hard. So just background story, Ale, Kar-Mun and I met at a previous job we had working in a bakery, and Kar-Mun was the pastry chef, and she was working non-stop.
To the point where I nearly dropped dead.
One of the most like hardworking people we've ever met, hands down.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But well, see, that's a good example. So that place, that boss. So he hired me because I was Asian, right? And he would try to hire other Asian people. And he, you know that boss, which we won't mention names. He was very blunt, and he was always blunt to me. He's like, yeah, you know, I saw you're Asian. I thought, you know, you'd be working super hard, blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, I want to hire more Asian people because they, you know, they'll work hard for like little money sort of thing. I'll be like, he wasn't Australian, but even then, that's every place I've ever worked though.
People have that
mentality. Yeah, that, you know, and it's a little bit like, you know, okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna you let it slide, but even if they see it as a good thing, it's still not a good thing. Like the fact that that's how you stereotype Asian people, Asian workers, and now you got the Nepalese and then, you know, whatnot. That's how it's just, and you know they make little digs and jokes and stuff, and they think it's okay sort of thing. I'm like, what? It's still not okay.
When you're on the other hand,
when you're on
it,
exactly, you know, and because and hospitality in particular, as someone who is seen as a female, who is seen also as an Asian, you know, they expect you to work 3 times, 4 times as hard for less money, sort of thing. So it gets a bit tricky. But then for the Australian people, they get away with working, you know, half-assed or, you know, not working as hard because, oh, that's just them. They're just like, they're chilled and everything. And I'm like, well, that's okay. But you'll find now, especially you see in the social media these days, I don't know if you've seen it, it's all over TikTok, you know, and even on the bloody news, where this whole chilled culture that the Australians have is affecting now, it has gone backwards now, where it's starting to see as a negative trait. Because, you know, especially in the dating world. So that's what's been happening.
I've seen
that? So like
heaps of women complaining that if you date an Australian guy, they're just lazy. Like they just won't do any effort into the date or anything. They're just lazy.
Yeah, so that's been going around, and I was just like, it's funny. It wasn't until I saw it that I'm like, what? Is that true? So I mean, I think in terms of dating, I have only really dated like Australian. Oh no, there was others, but you know, in terms of size, there was. But Australian white guys are so chilled. Like a date for them is a trip to Bunnings. You remember that, right?
Wow.
You remember that? Yeah, that was yeah, like that.
Did you have your sandwich, Bunnings sandwich?
The sausage sizzle, yeah. So you know, and now the new one is Yoshi dates. You know, have you heard about the Yoshi?
Yeah. Frozen yogurt.
But like that's the next level of like, oh, it's a Yoshi date.
That's fancy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not cheap. For them. Yeah, it's for them. It's fancy. And like, so now, you're starting to see it because, you know, we do get a lot of migrants here, or not even necessarily migrants, just people who come here for working holidays, and they're seeing it, like the females or whatever sort of thing, and even some of the males will be like, "What's with Australians, man? Like, you guys are so chilled to the point you're lazy." It's like there's a fine line between being chilled and being lazy, and so I'm seeing that shift. Like, I've been here my whole life, so much, pretty much, but where everybody loved Aussies. The Brits, the French, and so when I was in France, you know, they kind of see me and they can hear that I can speak perfect English. Well, I say perfect English.
You do.
For the French people, it's so definitely.
But so they're like, "Oh, are you British?" I'm like, "No, I'm Australian." The moment I say I'm Australian, I get treated better.
You think so? If you say you are British, you think it will be innocent.
Oh yeah, but there's a rivalry between.
But.
No,
it's true.
There's a common.
I think the image of Australia.
Well, but in general, the Australians are seen.
People
better.
love Australians.
Yeah, people love Australians, right?
So you have to like they're really nice people. Like
it's true. Yeah.
And that was how I had it for the first, like, during the 90s, 2000s, etc. Blah blah blah. But in the last 5 to 8, maybe even 10 years, shift. because we're starting to get a bad image now. We're starting to see that we're bad travelers because we drink too much, or we're too rowdy, or like we're too lazy in the dating scenes, we're too chilled or too whatever. So that I've slowly noticed that shift.
Wow.
Which is very interesting because, like, and I mean, I love traveling on an Australian passport because it's like, man, customs, I see your Australian passport, they don't care, If I was going in a Malaysian passport, totally different, But so it's a lot easier, which sounds horrible, but again, there's that racism shit happening again. But
if you can have something advantage, you take it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, enough going against me now, but that's what I've noticed about in terms of Australian culture, where something that was seen as a good thing,
that's what
now is slowly shifting. It's like, oh no,
because that's what most people would say if you ask them, working holiday visas or whatever, people who've been here, oh, why do you like Australia so much? They would say, oh, people are nice, it's so chill, like you never stress or anything. And then you see it when in the working world is that the experience I have from France compared to here, it's you can't even compare the pressure, which is good in a way because it's less pressure on you.
We have one girl, I don't want to say her name, at the bakery was working. No, because I don't want if she don't want, in case you don't know. She was working, Australian, the girl, the makeup girl.
Yeah.
And she was, I think you were still here, maybe?
Was I?
Oh, I don't know. She was working in front with me at the bakery, and all the she came early in time, on time.
Yeah.
And all the time we say, because we all French at the bakery working, all the time say, she's good for the Australian. She came on time for the Australian. She's a hard worker for the Australian.
Yeah.
We always say that for the Australian.
Yeah, for Australian. But then notice now that we give them a
like a standard.
Yeah, different standard.
Yeah.
Because they're Australian, because they're white Australian.
Yeah,
true. But it was an Asian person or some other sort of things. It's like, oh well, they're just on time. I expect them to be actually staying back or to be early, sort of thing. Yeah. So it's like a different standard that we put on them, just because of the difference between the typical white Australian and any other sort of Australian or even non-Australian sort of thing. So it's just
But they have a different approach to work, which in a way I think is
good.
Better. Is that they don't see work as like, oh, you have to. You're not living to work. It's like you have to work and then to make money, and then you live the rest of your life. And I kind of like that about
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Opposite in France, for example, it's like work, career, but like to the point of like toxic. Like it can be so toxic.
And America's the same. It's all about the hustle culture.
Yeah,
hustle. Have like multiple jobs and stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying, okay, we're gonna do this. So let's try and make sure we do it for everybody, not just the white Australians, or whoever decides to adopt that. Because then if I say a migrant of a different background, blah blah blah, acts the exact same way as a white Australian, will we say the same? Oh, they're chill, good on them, blah blah blah. Or will we say, no, they're lazy, they've come to our country, they've taken our resources, blah blah blah. Like, so that's where, like, I've noticed. Well, it's just things that we have to be careful about, and that I see myself as complete, like 99.99% Australian, but like I've never felt like I could never not stoop down, but more like just lower my standards for myself in that way, because I am afraid of how people will see me and how people will take me. But again, I have strong work ethics and stuff, but like that has blown up in my face, as you guys knew, with my own personal health issues. But and
you're the hard worker, so if you work so hard for something and someone doesn't give you the chance just because it's not fair.
This is tricky, but that's
it's very frustrating.
That's long answer, but
that's
like
perfect.
That's the culture.
Have you ever heard, when doing the research for the podcast for today, I came across that expression called tall poppy syndrome. Have you ever? And I was pretty sure you'd know about it anyway, so I didn't know about it before.
Oh, really?
No.
You've never heard of it?
Really briefly. Like, I was like, oh, this sounds familiar, but also I need to look more into it.
Really?
And I didn't know it was so big here.
It's
like,
a huge... I reckon it was created here in this country, because I heard that saying since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I was... I mean... God, I'm gonna sound.
Could you explain what it is?
Like? So tall poppy seed syndrome is just like because I didn't know it until I was.
I'm totally lost.
Okay. So
that's what I'm gonna do.
I got told this from a very young child by a teacher, because I was being bullied in class or something like that, right? And then not bullied even, but it was just like certain comments teased on. Yeah. And the teacher's like, oh, I'm sick of this tall poppy seed syndrome. I was like, I'm not tall, I'm short, like I was so confused, And then so she had to explain to me. So it's the idea, why is poppy, I can't actually remember, but like poppy, like the flower, you always see sort of things. So it's like the you'll have to look this up. You have to look up. I'm sure there's something about thing, but it's like people don't like you being better than them, or whether it's smarter, do better sports in them, etc. Blah blah blah. They want to cut you down. They always cut you down. Like something about the Australian culture originally back in the 90s and 2000s, definitely. I'm not sure about so much now. I think now it's definitely shifted, but back then for sure, you didn't like to be the smartest kid meant you were going to be bullied. To be the better at anything and stuff like that. To be in that outlier.
Yeah, if you shine too much, that's right.
Yeah, it was a bad thing that people want to cut you down. Yeah. They want to kind of, but like, I think in America it's a bit different, in UK it's a bit different. I mean, I'm sure people will still be, bullied or whatever sort of thing that in school and classes, but to stand out in that light was seen as a bad thing. People wanted to cut you down, to make sure that
for standing out. That's what it said. But when I looked it up online, it said this is a unique cultural trait where individual who achieve success can be cut down for standing out. So like you cut the flower.
You cut the flower down? Yeah, because it grows too tall. If it grows too tall, you wanna take it down.
Stupid. Instead to try to going on the level of the guy going high, you try to
think that's all.
Yeah, you would think. But it was to me it was a purely kind of Australian thing, because I did notice it.
That's where I think that's why I wanted to bring it up, because that's why it surprised me, because the experience we have with Ellie is that Australians are really supportive to one another, and like no matter what you do, you're always going to get oh, well done, great achievement and everything. When we grew up kind of with a different kind of mentality in France. So
what was it like in France?
Well, really, if you stand out for being better, people hate it. Like, there's not that respect for success to people. It's more like, oh, that person's doing better. Oh, they must, it's always.
Yeah. So it was like that in France as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. I saw it as a purely Australian thing.
But I think because I did really little research on it then, but it sounded like it was very Australia, New Zealand, America.
Yes.
Which really surprised me then, because I'm
surprised about America. It could happen, but it could happen anywhere, to be honest. Yeah. Anybody that stands out, people will want to be like, they think they're better than me. It's less about that person thing, but it's just like you're comparing yourself to them, and if they're making me feel bad about myself, therefore I've got to feel better by cutting them down. And I think that's less of a cultural thing, but for some reason growing up I felt it was very Australian, because it was always the Australian kids that were kind of teasing me. But again, I'm bringing the Asian thing back. I don't know if it has anything to relate to it.
But that's your experience.
That's my experience.
That's what, that's
because
what we want
all the other few Asian kids that were in my class at the time, it was like, well, our parents would freaking smack us if we didn't do good. We had to do good in class. Well, my parents were like, my mother would lose her shit at me. And like, I knew this other Korean kid, he would ace every single math test. But that's because he studied hard. He went to like math class after school. It was, he did, because that was the thing, especially in Asian school culture, like the schooling. It was like, you went to school, but then after school you had
more studying and
more studying. You had tutors. My mom hired a goddamn math tutor for me because I didn't know my multiplications off by heart when I was 8 years old. So
how dare me,
sort of thing. And it was all about that extracurricular stuff, because that was the expectation. So we had to do well. It was less about doing better than the people in our class. We just had to be the best. But I don't think that was a thing in Australia. Like for Australian kids, again, talking about the 90s, 2000s, etc., where it was just like, well, go to class, be good, behave, don't get into trouble. If I get a phone call from the teacher or from the school, blah, blah, blah. But it was different for Asian kids. It's like, you go there, you do good, you be the best. You get straight A's, or, exactly. Yeah. So it was,
it's like to fight with your small
why B plus? Why not?
Why? Because there's so much pressure on kids who are supposed to go there to be learning, and having fun. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why you have really high suicide rates in Japan and Korea, where the education system is completely warped. Like that's them, and they show your entire grades to the whole school, so they can actually have a list of like the top student to the worst performing student.
Wow.
Like the
I guess the worst is not is the top for
It would be
France,
the
you know.
yeah. So, you know, it's a very different culture in terms of like the education system, but also that's why like the whole tall poppy seed syndrome is, to me, was such like a backward thing because like I would hear about the Asian culture and I saw a lot of Asian stuff, and then I you know, but then experiencing the Australian school education system here was just like, what the hell? Like, why am I getting, isn't this what you, like, shouldn't we all be aiming for the best? Why am I getting teased for being a nerd or whatever sort of thing? But, you know, that was, did I answer your question? I don't
You
even know.
definitely
did.
did.
Okay, good. But
Before you were talking about the Gold Coast with the surfing and everything, so
Yeah.
the activity is a very huge difference
the activities?
Between what?
between Malaysia and
Australia.
Australia? Did you find the
Like
big gap?
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Oh, insanely different. Because, well, I mean, from memory, again, I came here when I was 3, and I only went back maybe once every 10 years. But like, you know, when I did contact with my my cousins, I'm not in as much contact with them anymore because, again, different. We've grown up differently, and but you know, the culture there is night markets, wet markets, you know, going to the shopping centers because it's the only place that has air conditioning because it's so goddamn hot there. You know, and like, and I mean, I don't know about everybody there, but particularly my family, my cousins, you know, they were fangirling over like the K-pop stars and stuff like that, right? Which we have now here in Australia, but you know, only in the last 10 years. But like when I was growing up, it was like Backstreet Boys or Spice Girls, again showing my age. But
That's the best time though. References.
Spice Girls.
and you know, like but like that was the culture there, was you gotta you in the late nights, you know, because you had like the night markets that was on until 10 p.m. or whatever sort of thing, and you know, it's like simple things. While here it was all about, you know, sports. You go to school, you know, you had sport
They're
festivals,
very big into
very
sport,
big on sports and like activities like surfing. And you know, I was more like a artsy crafty kind of person, so I stuck out like a sore thumb on the Gold Coast, man. I did not belong on the Gold Coast. I was like, I got out of the Gold Coast as soon as I could.
Yeah, Gold Coast is a place very outdoor
It's a whole
activities and everything. Yeah.
Look, it's great as a, so having grown up there, I saw it was a tourist hub. It's a huge tourist hub. You know, it's the it's the bogan version of LA. You know, you know, so
usually we say Miami or
Miami. Yeah, exactly. So you had like all these surfers and like the bikini clad girls, you know, and I remember because my primary school was in Surfers Paradise State School, so as part of our school excursions we would go to the Formula One race because they used to have the massive race in Surfers Paradise with all the race cars. And I'm so sorry you're gonna hear the snoring of the dog, but you know, at least she's staying
Background
calm.
noise.
Background noise. It's very peaceful. She's very sweet. So you know, I remember like in primary school, we'd all walk to it's a Formula One race. Okay, school excursion. They'll take us to see like the racing cars. I'm going, how is this educational? But okay, cool, whatever.
They have big sports carnival every year or something. That's cool, you know, like
yeah. We had the swim carnival, the sports carnival, and that was a huge thing. You'll dress up, and
it's big.
It was big. It's a huge thing. It's a huge day of it, you know, and. So I did a bit of that. I was like somewhat tried to be still sporty and active, but I was definitely more of the art side. But that was something that they didn't really cultivate in the Gold Coast. You know, everything was really sports related or outdoor related. And I've definitely noticed a shift in the last 10 years or so. And it's especially Gold Coast has gotten a little bit more artsy. There's like you got the it used to be called the Art Center, now it's called Hoda. Yep. So that was amazing. It was great to see. I wish it was there when I was younger. But you know, little progress, baby steps. But what else about the Gold Coast? Where, you know, because my whole family worked in hospitality. All right, so my dad was a chef, my mom was a waitress. You know, so our whole entire lives ran around these events. Because then there's the big party time, which is schoolies.
Yeah.
Right? That's the
big
biggest.
on the Gold Coast. You know, at the end of the school year, at the end of year 12.
It's like our version of
When you go to uni.
Cancun traveling. You know, like in America, how they have the
spring break. Yeah.
So it's the Australian version of it, right? So
And it's big on the Gold Coast.
yeah.
Okay.
They
So
get pissed on the
it's
beach.
insane. And so like I saw that my whole life was the schoolies because I went to school there. My parents worked in like my sister as well. We worked during that time, and it's that party culture, the drinking culture, the getting so pissed drunk, and like if you don't remember what happened the night before, it means you had a good night. You know, which is still
That's what Ali calls Saturday.
yeah. I mean, that's
before, not anymore.
yeah, getting too old for that.
Before turning 30.
But you know, like to me that was mind blowing because I didn't like that. You know, like I mean, I totally go for like night out drinking or whatever something, but you know, it was just such a strange concept for me as an outsider as well. Like I don't think it's to do with a cultural background for me, but it was also like a matter of taste. Like I just don't belong in there. But seeing that and growing and actually working during that time, you know, you see these school like because my mom also worked as a room attendant. So housekeeping. So during the schoolies was her worst time because you know I remember one day she'll come home from work and just be swearing, and I'm like, I've never heard her swear in my life. She'll come home and go, fucking mother. You picture this like little Asian lady that her face is going red from swearing because apparently these schoolie kids had melted wax all over the bathtub. So she had to like you know scrape it off and everything like that. And you know like they left condoms everywhere, and you know.
I just need
Bless
to.
Or like because they'll have a limit. You're only supposed to have 2 or 3 people in a room, but they try and cram 12 people in the thing. And so you know I was behind the scene of that, you know, seeing the cleaning, seeing the stuff, and like I was working as a waitress part-time while I was studying, so I didn't enjoy that part of it because I had to do the cleanup and stuff, or like my family had to do the cleanup and stuff. So it's that, you know, that kind of culture again. What is distinctly Gold Coast?
I think it's Australia. The whole drinking
that drinking culture.
That's huge.
It's huge, and you know, unfortunately, we've again that goes back now to the previous with us being travelers, because where people used to like us, but then now they'll be like, you guys get way too freaking rowdy when you travel because they bring that drinking culture with them, and it's like that's not cool. Like you know, in Europe for you know in Spain, France, etc. and stuff, to drink is, you know, to enjoy the food and etc. Blah blah. It's not to get the cheapest like the goon bags, you know.
I mentioned that the goon bag.
You know, you got the goon bags on the Hills Hoist. You know that one?
No.
Oh God, this is the bogan showing out where they'll have like, so the Hills Hoist is a very distinctly kind of Aussie backyard thing. So that's like the clothes drying thing, right? Right. You know what I'm talking about, Ali? You're looking at me like, where you hang the clothes.
I thought dry your clothes outside.
It looks like an umbrella.
But
it spins.
Yeah, you can close and you open it after you put your clothes.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to. I don't think you can close it.
No? Oh, okay.
It just looks like a naked umbrella.
Look like the web spider web little bit. Yeah. Okay.
So like it spins, right? So what you do is like you clip the goon bag onto it, right? And then you spin it and you try to drink it. I mean, like, this is the bogan culture.
Oh, amazing.
There's heaps you missing out on it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so like there's that, you know, that kind of culture and then that kind of drinking culture, and unfortunately, you know, bringing that when you're traveling or even stuff. I mean, some people might see it as charming at first, but then it's like, you got a serious drinking issue. And you know, the fact that a couple of years ago the government even started to put out these ads now, where it's just like, you know, rethink your drinking habits sort of thing. I'm like, we're a couple of decades late on that, guys.
Is that the first time they were doing it? Like,
that was the first time. Yeah. I don't know if you remember those ads, but that was like the first time when they actually started putting those ads, going, hey, we need to, you know, rethink your drinking culture. Like, do you feel like you need a glass of wine to wind down, or blah 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 blah, or you know, do you always have to need a drink? And I feel like we've gotten, I don't know, I want to think we've gotten better, but maybe we've gotten worse in some aspects too. But now we have. And again, we really, this isn't even an English word, I think. So it's like casualizing the whole drinking culture, because particularly in Brisbane now, because we've noticed ever since COVID with everything that happened, and you'll notice that these you got these microbreweries everywhere, or like local breweries where they're more family friendly, because it's great because people want to drink, but then like now you got these young men and women who are married and have kids now. They still want to have the drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, like fellas, you're going fellas on Sundays. You have the kids, you have the event for playing.
Yeah, you got the playground there, but then you're serving alcohol here by like the bloody barrels. So if anything, I feel like that's even worse, because we are making it even more casual, more easy accessible for these families now and making it like, what are we showing to the kids, to the next generation, but that's I guess that's part of the Australian culture, I suppose, that I'm like, we could do without. But I mean, that's just kind of what it's always been, though, at the same time. Like,
that's true.
That's true.
So anyway, again,
have you already been at the, what's the name in English? I don't know. The race? I know they do that in the Story Bridge. Yes.
The cockroach race?
Have you been there?
It's on Australia.
Brisbane. It's from here, Brisbane.
It's from Brisbane.
Yeah. I know it's at the hotel. Story Bridge Hotel did that.
A cockroach?
But I went to one in Australia.
They have the target on the middle. They have the bucket when inside you have and they take off the bucket. And after the cockroach is the first cockroach going on the line.
Cross the line.
I'm not surprised.
And they beat the money on teeth and all.
I'm not surprised. Look, this is just Australia.
I think it's only Brisbane. I'm not sure of.
I remember back in like, on the go-karts again, as kids, I heard like other people like do races with the cane toads and whatnot. It's just all like go cane toad golfing, where they like whack the cane toads like a golf ball. So this is no surprise to me.
Race. I forgot about this.
Yeah, but I've been after work. I've been once.
Oh my God.
Like, what's the?
Don't they go everywhere?
But they are.
So I think that's the
they
point.
They look like the box ring, the smaller version.
Yeah, but the shit can fly. Like they can.
Yeah, they're flying. Shit.
Look, I mean, whatever amuses them, I guess. So people in general.
Whatever entertains people.
Did you realize that it's the second time I talk about this insect? I think I really have the problem with this. I really have the podcast. I really hate them.
I mean, who likes them?
Nobody likes them.
That's very.
So did that with the spiders. I mean,
they're big in Brisbane.
No, spider, I'm okay.
How are you okay with
no,
spiders?
I mean, if they're not here, I'm prefer. But I just learned to live with them. It's okay. Maybe the orange picking and all, I have 1 or twice a week all the time in my face. So it's in the hand, you are just, hello, baby.
Anyway, move on.
Do you like Vegemite?
No. Okay.
I feel like we can't end this episode without mentioning
Vegemite. Yeah. Tim Tams. Oh, look.
Tim Tams, sorry.
I mean, look, I'm always gonna love a Tim Tam, especially like dunked in like coffee or tea. And you bite the both ends and then you suck it out.
Is it really Australian to eat the Tim Tam like that?
But yeah, the Tim Tam slam.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
I've been told.
Ah, really? Yeah. Because I told you, tell me that. Someone tell me that. I was like, I say, you're stupid, just take the Tim Tam, you put it in your mouth and it's done, I was like,
see, that you don't.
But that's not fun.
Yeah, no.
But
the real way to experience a Tim Tam is to suck it like a straw and have your coffee into it.
Yeah, the milk. But
I can never make it work though.
The tea, the milk?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tea or coffee.
Any, okay.
Yeah, but it should be, it should be warm, because then it gets soft and gooey. So milk, okay, but like, so it should be like a coffee. Oh Jesus, hot chocolate. How much sugar do you need?
I love.
Okay, yeah, you love chocolate. That's true. You love sugar. Okay.
Coffee.
I love sugar.
Okay, so with the Vegemite question.
Yeah.
I actually grew up with Marmite back in Malaysia, because that's like
more British.
Yeah, British. Because
it's the same but British version.
It's not the same.
Oh, sorry, it's not the same.
Hang on, yeah.
I can't say what I say.
You're about to start a war here,
There's an old British guy behind my back after.
I don't know why. I didn't even realize it was Brit, but it's just like in Malaysia we had Marmite, and so like whenever my mom made me. Because congee is like a real comfort food for me. When I was sick, mom would make me congee. You guys know what congee is?
No.
It's like a rice slurry kind of thing. So it's like rice, but it's like really soupy and they made it stuff. So it's like it was a real comfort food, and they have it in Korea as well. It's like,
and now they use it as a base to make pasta and stuff. No, how'd you spell it?
CONGEE.
No, because it's a gluten-free alternative now. They make like congee pasta. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And it's like really. It's a bit weird. It's like
because it's rice. Yeah. So
yeah.
I didn't know that, but there you go. Wouldn't be surprised, because they use rice flour, like glutinous rice flour or something to do it.
You can find it in the gluten-free aisle.
But yeah, like, so when Mama with Miss Konji, I remember like I'll have like a big scoop of like the Marmite and mix it into it and have it. So when I came here, like I was told, oh yeah, Vegemite's the same. And I didn't like, whoa, what is this? And like, I don't care how, I could be here for another 50 years or whatever sort of thing. I don't think I could handle Vegemite. I just can't. You're not supposed to have a lot of it. So, but like the first time I remember having it, somebody slept on a lot. So I was just like, the hell is
That's
this?
the thing.
Yeah, so, but you're not, the secret is not to. You're supposed to have way more butter with just a scrape of like the Vegemite. But I, you know, there's some people that I know will eat it by the spoonful.
The first time someone made me try it as well, it was like it was too much. So I got so grossed out that I'm like, I'm never touching it. And the smell now reminds me of that time. Yeah. And everybody's always like, no, but you have to put a little bit. And I feel like if you put a little bit in a toasty or something, it would actually be nice.
It would be fine because it's really just the saltiness, But like for me, no, I was so. I mean, I don't think I could even now. I could have Marmite, but it's just like. Yeah, it's you were a Marmite person or Vegemite, or you just have none. You know, it was like none. Yeah. But I was a Marmite girl. Yeah, because the food in Australia.
What is for you the? If you have to say one dish, Australian dish is what?
Like the most Australian dish.
The most Australian dish.
Actually, can you do a very Australian meal, like entree, main, dessert? I want to hear what it's like.
Oh crap! The most Australian meal. Okay.
Team time for the dessert.
well, for dessert, I think, because being a pastry chef, I guess my first thought it will be to dessert. It's fairy bread.
Oh, but that's not food.
I know. Well, okay, but it's like
fairy bread. You don't know. Do you remember we saw it the other day, and you were like, "What the hell is this?" And I told you it's big at birthday parties.
Yeah.
What do you want to explain, Kar-Mun?
Okay, well, it's literally just like
it's a small.
You gotta have. It's gotta be white.
Get ready.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah. It has to be white bread. Right, it has to be
white.
It can't be, slice of white bread, right? Just smother
it
in.
One you find out.
Yeah, the cheapest one, like top bread, whatever the hell.
It's not quality, quoi. Don't go.
We're not even.
We're not about quality. Yeah. No. We're not. This is gonna be Aussie. You're gonna go back. This is like 70s to 90s of Australian food culture. This is every birthday party. You'd see it there. It's either this or the Woolies cake.
I want to see your face while she tells me exactly what it is.
So it's like
first start bad with the white bread is already started.
And like this is basic. So it's like so thin. If you were to squish it, it would just stay flat white. This is that kind of quality bread, right? So a slice of the white bread. As cheap as you can get, tip top Brumbies. Well, not Brumbies is even too fancy. And you smother it in butter, right? But like you're not if you want to if you go. Oh, hang on. You wait for it. Now with the butter, right? You're not even bothering to put it into room temperature to make it soft or whatever. It's gonna be straight out from the fridge so that it just tears your bread. So it tears your bread up, right? And then you just like. Put a handful of
the cake decoration.
And it's got to be like the hundreds. It can't be the hundreds and thousands. So it's got to be the dot ones. You can't have like the ones with the.
So what they call it? Because I had the same issue the other day. Hundreds and thousands. What are they exactly?
So the hundreds and thousands is like it's like the dots and the line of the sprinkles, right? That's hundreds and thousands. You don't do that on the fairy bread. The proper fairy bread is just the hundreds. You don't do the lines.
Those little, what we call the sprinkles, to put on cakes. Except them, for some reason, they call them hundreds and thousands.
So they don't give a fuck about the good quality of bread, but this is very important to have this one.
This is authentic Australian. This is as authentic as you get. You put the hundreds and thousands, you've bastardized the fairy bread. You're kicked out of the country.
After the surprise about the obesity.
And it's mostly our birthday parties or no?
Birthday parties or picnics, thingies, stuff like that. But that's gatherings. Like, nobody these days, I think, really eat it, but like that is
if
like,
you see memes online about like Australian back in the day, like retro
90s,
like memes about your
80s,
childhood, it would always be on there. And people go wild in the comments being like, oh my god, fairy bread.
Yeah, fairy bread. Or it'll be like the really cheap Woolies chocolate cake.
I'm feeling to miss something at the same time, not really.
You're not missing something. You are not missing anything.
We should do an episode just us trying out really typical Aussie food.
We do the real soon about trying if we...
stuff.
Yeah, it's either that or the pavlova. You can't go wrong. At least pavlovas you can make fancy, but that's like your...
Yeah.
But again, I don't know whether pavlovas were made in Australia originally or New Zealand. I remember having to do something about this. But like,
this is good. This I like.
Pavlovas?
Yeah.
Pavlovas can be fancy. Yes, sugar, yeah. But like, it can be fancy because you've got fruit and like cream and stuff like that. You can do a bit of stuff. But that is quintessential Aussie dessert. In terms of like
As a
entrees
main?
and mains, I mean,
Barbecue.
mains,
Barbies.
or like a palmy. Go to the pub for a palmy.
Yeah.
You know, chip or you know,
I love that.
Yeah, pub food.
Chicken parmigiana.
Ah,
Parmigiana,
Which by the sound of it sounds very Australian,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Parmigiana.
yeah. Or palmy. You gotta say palmy.
Yeah.
Right, because you gotta
That's
shorten.
good.
We shorten
I know
everything.
you don't eat meat, but it's honestly so good.
Yeah. Oh, a
So
good
big,
palmy.
It's like chicken
Yeah.
and ham and
and
tomato.
starter
Yeah.
as a entree.
Starter. God, do we even do starter? I don't know whether we
Yeah,
fancy
but I've
us
noticed
to do
that you
starters.
guys love your
Fish and
garlic
chips.
bread.
I got
love
it.
garlic
Yeah, but like
It's everywhere,
it's
all
gonna
the
be
time.
the cheap
Cheap bread, yeah.
bread,
Yeah.
the cheap garlic bread, like the ones that you get from Domino's or like Sizzler. That's what I remember from the
Yeah.
90s Australian thing. It was like if you ate at Sizzlers, you're fancy sort
Yeah.
of thing. So that's my memory of Australian food. You know, like the fact that there was like a Pizza Hut
And
every corner.
the meat pie? No, it's
Meat
more
pie,
New
that's like
Zealand.
a lunch.
Sausage rolls.
Sausage rolls, yeah, that's like a lunch thing though. That's like
Yeah.
your work break. You know, you go to school lunch
Yeah.
box.
Some have it for breakfast, which
Yeah.
is beyond. Like I can't.
I thought
the
it was
smell of
it's
so
not from New
early.
Zealand, is?
It's
I know New Zealand
England,
eats
no?
a lot, but
It's
the
from
kiwi
it's British,
is a lot.
isn't it?
Meat
Ah,
pie?
it's British.
Sausage
It's
roll.
it's very British. Sausage roll I feel is a bit more Aussie.
Yeah.
Meat pie is a bit
Ah,
British.
it's British? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know, but like we Australians have done their own thing. We've bastardized everything, and
Yeah.
but like we've definitely taken it to our own. Though I'm sure the Brits will be like, no, that's ours. But they said that about the curry too. So you know, though the curry
true.
they make is definitely not like Indian curry. Again, they
Here.
colonized it. No, in
Ah.
England. So. But like that's a staple for them, you know. I mean, when you go to any colonized country, they'll bastardize their own food. Australian food culture is very unique. We are very unique.
I think it's a good word.
It's a
Good way of putting it.
yeah. It was just because we adopted a lot of different countries, and we also
Yeah,
very
that's
lucky.
true, which
Nice.
is good.
I think a lot of people don't realize how lucky we are with our food culture here, because we got a lot of mix of like Asian
Yeah.
fusion and stuff like that and stuff, and it's relatively cheap. Like Japanese food is cheap here. Japanese food in Malaysia is insanely expensive. Because the quality and stuff is hard to get, and then like we're sport for choice here because we've got nowadays anyway compared to before.
Yeah.
You know, because we've got Japanese, Korean, now we've got
Yeah.
Turkish and everything like that. I don't know which any other country really where you have as
Yeah, it's what
big of a mix of food.
my mom says that when she came in Australia, she says that she's surprised that you have the restaurant of Korean, restaurant Japanese, and everything is split. That in France, for
call it
us, we say we go to the
Chinese
Chinese restaurant. It's like every Asian food in the same
It's mixed
place.
as one, yeah. And that's how it's
And we
like.
have no idea
yeah.
that this one is more Chinese or this one is
Exactly.
more Vietnamese or
Yeah.
whatever. That here is you really have your Vietnamese food.
Distinction.
Yeah, and authentic too. Like because it was the same in the during the 90s, 2000s here as well. Like we'll say Chinese food or like if we even tried to open a Malaysian restaurant, it was really more of a Hong Kong style, more Cantonese style food. But now is you got your very authentic Vietnamese food, very authentic Malaysian
authentic.
and Korean and stuff like that. We're very lucky here. When I was traveling,
It's so diverse.
yes, yeah, like in London, you know, trying to eat fish and chips was like freaking 20 pounds or something like that. It was insane. And then like any cheap food was either just pub food, you know, or like Indian food. But like once you try to get different cultures, it was either really expensive or just not that good. Well, we are spoiled for choice for food here. You know, if I feel like Turkish one night or if I feel like Nepalese food another night.
That's true. That's how you
You know,
actually-
we are very lucky in terms of the food culture here. Either whether it's to do with proximity and the fact that we do have a lot of migrants, like we, you know, I'm grateful for that, and I think you know
good, yeah.
we take that advantage of it a lot. We don't realize that until once you've traveled and gone around, you'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's true. When you see after, yeah.
So
That is good.
Every episode was like a tips or advice you'd have for people.
who wants to
About
What's about
wait,
Australia
who wants
or
to
about
move here or
Australia?
who wants to move?
Or something about maybe more the culture, you know, like let's say
If you're scared to coming in Australia when you have a huge culture in your own home. No, I don't know how you say that. No, but you know when you're from that the country, that your culture is very important. If you are scared, if you have the advice to the people who want to come in Australia, is scared about the gap between
Scared.
scared,
yeah.
scared.
I was like, if they what?
Scared?
Yeah,
That's what you say, the
yeah, like any cultural tips you would say.
Culture tips. Okay. This is true. Okay, in general,
It can be one, by the way. No pressure. Like,
Oh,
it doesn't
right,
have
no.
to be 10 tips.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be...
just come with an open mind and understand that it's going to be, it'll be hard regardless of whichever country you go to. I think most people, when they do come to Australia, they get a huge shock because they are sold, and you know, the Australian government and the tourism board is very good at selling this image, and also movies, etc., blah blah blah, TV series, we're very good at selling the image that Australia is very open, very chilled, and which we are, which is great. But they will get shocked. People who come and expecting that openness and stuff like that will get shocked by the racism, you know, and other things. But I think that's with everything that you do when you start a new job, when you meet a partner, etc. Blah blah blah. You're always going to have this idea, like an ideal in your head of everything that's going to be great. I'm going to be surfing every day, blah blah blah.
I'm going to make that much money working.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
and that's $1 a week.
Yeah, but then you're shocked by and then you get shocked by how expensive everything in Australia is, and also how you might not get treated as open and friendly. You still be friendly. I mean, don't get me wrong, Australian people are the friendliest people around, but you might still come across, especially when you get further away from the city to a more regional thing, a bit of casual racism, etc. So come to Australia with an open mind and open heart, but also be prepared. Be prepared for...
Yeah, everything is not too easy.
Yeah, it's just, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but you can make the right lifestyle for you here if you actually want it.
Yeah.
And know that you're not going to be the only one. I mean, that's the thing about Australia, where we have an amazing amount of migrants and expats and whatnot sort of thing here. You're never going to be alone, but don't fall into the trap of, say, if you're French, just hanging around French people, Italian, just being around Italian people, etc. Blah blah. Be willing to put yourself out there and make some friends with, but more than likely, your friends will actually all be a mix of other country people. Like, my current friends, I've been here my whole life pretty much, but my current group of friends,
it's so diverse.
There's Australians, yes, but there's also Americans, French, Danish, etc. blah blah, and but if that's your friend group, that's okay, because you've managed to these are the people that are brave. And again, if you're coming to Australia, you are brave. Remember that you are already someone who's very brave and who's taking the risk to try something new. And that's already the best step you could possibly take. Your next one is just to come in with an open mind, an open heart. And, best of luck.
I love that.
Oh, it was amazing.
Beautiful. Amen. No, but it's very true when you think about it. It's like, it's so diverse here in terms of backgrounds.
Yeah.
That you can easily have people from all over the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just
And
so cool.
So if all your friends happen to be blonde babes like Margot Robbie and Chris Hemsworth, that's fine. That's fine, because you want to find...
We don't need them anyway.
But like you'll probably be best friends with people who have taken the step like you have, but from the other side of the world. But imagine you happen to meet in a foreign country with other people at the same time, and that's what makes Australia great to me, is that you meet people that you never would or traveling in general and stuff like that. But like Australia just happens to be a great country for that, where you can meet other amazing people who's also taking that risk, who are also brave like you are, and who's willing to take the risk and experience it for better or worse. They might not stay, they might leave, but at least you'll have that friendship or meet them, have the opportunity to meet them. And I think you just got to take that with both hands and get what you can from it. But yeah.
That's beautiful. What a way to end the episode. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was very, very nice. I'm so looking forward to the part 2.
Yeah, we'll make you some fairy.
Live degustation. Ali's so nice.
Sorry, I talk way too much.
No, that's perfect. Thank you for coming in again, and thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Ciao, ciao.